Was there a prediction of Elon Musk ruling Mars? This is Final Death Star, aka Enter the Unfamiliar. I am hosting on eHacker's channel. Was there a prediction that Elon Musk would be leading humanity on Mars? Yes and no. This one is kind of interesting. Out of all the things we know about Elon, one of the biggest is that he is determined, dedicated, you might say obsessed with having humanity become a spacefaring civilization and to colonize Mars. He's spoken very openly about this. He thinks that more people need to be talking about this so that it can happen. If it's possible, it's not the worst idea to colonize another planet, I guess. But who would lead this new branch of civilization, of humanity on another planet? Well, according to this prediction, someone or a title named Elon would be leading humanity. Now, it's not exactly as you might think, so we're going to go through this. This is coming from foxbusiness.com. Wernher von Braun, the German rocket scientist who went from developing Nazi weapons to helping NASA off the ground in the US. So when we won the war, we took their leading rocket scientist and put him in charge of NASA. So he's basically responsible for how we got to the moon, why we got to the moon, the ability to get to the moon, which is interesting in and of itself. He wrote a novel in the years after World War II, speculating about life on Mars and how human society there would be led by an, quote, Elon. E-L-O-N, same spelling. So it's not quite the same as the SpaceX founder, Elon Musk. It's more of a title than a personal name. But still, the coincidence, pretty close. Due to the obvious name association and space lovers on Twitter, the passage resurfaced Thursday in an Entrepreneur article based on a December thread. Musk, who wants SpaceX rockets to someday send humans to colonize Mars, tweeted a poetic quote from Mel Brooks' 1974 movie Young Frankenstein in December. "Destiny, destiny, no escaping that for me," he wrote. The tweet prompted Toby Lee, a writer for Musket, a blog devoted to news about the Tesla CEO. He's got his own blog devoted to news about him, Musket, to share a German language excerpt from von Braun's book with the word Elon circled. And here's a picture of it here so you can see it there. Speaking about destiny, did you know that von Braun's 1953 book Mars Project referenced a person named Elon that would bring humans to Mars? Pretty nuts. He was a little off on the meaning of the passage, but the English translation shared by another user, is available to buy on Amazon, clears things up. So it's basically the name of a position rather than a proper name or a person. It's talking about the Martian government was directed by 10 men, the leader of whom was elected by universal suffrage for 5 years and entitled, quote, Elon. 2 houses of parliament enacted the laws to be administered by the Elon and his cabinet. In the science fiction novel Project Mars, a technical tale, von Braun wrote about a representative democracy on Mars in which the president-like leader is called an Elon. So it's, a title. The Martian government was directed by 10 men, as I just said there. The upper legislature in his fictional government consists of 60 people appointed for life terms by the Elon. It's kind of funny just to say the Elon. How do we know in the future he won't be just referred to as the Elon? Maybe that's where they got this name. If this is some kind of prophetic message he has here or prophetic vision, it's possible that we just call him the Elon. The lower house is elected by profession rather than by region. He explained this was because transportation technology made the entire planet traversable with just 4 hours, and because Martians had rendered racial prejudice, nationalism, and local patriotism obsolete. So something about entire technology making the entire planet transversible within just hours. I mean, you know, look, we know Elon's on top of the spacecraft. He wants to tunnel underground to make things quicker and smoother. He's got Tesla. It's not out of the reach of possibility to think that he would come up with something that has a fast way to travel around a planet in literally no time. So it is interesting. This, of course, abolished the distinction between naturally rich and naturally poor regions. So there no longer exists the have and the have-nots, regional groupings, conflicting interests. It's socialism, basically, I guess. The book covers much more than just a theoretical space democracy. It's a fictional account of how life on Mars arrived from its inception in a mission planning room on Earth well into the future. So it reminded me, this story of Elon, this novel by von Braun, it reminded me of a late 1800s book that also mentioned the characters in the book that reminded some people of actual people alive today, and it raised a couple eyebrows, as I think this Elon fictional book probably will as well. But this was on Baron Trump and the last president. It was a book. There were two different books. One was about Baron Trump and his magical adventure through the inner earth and time travel and all this very interesting stuff. And he was led by a mentor or a guide named Don. And then this same author wrote a book called The Last President, in which the president has an advisor, or it's, I think, the chief of his staff, or it's not vice president, but it's close. And the name of that person is Pence. So again, very odd coincidences here. You can say this delves into the realm of the conspiratorial. The author of the books is Ingersoll Lockwood, an American political writer, lawyer, and novelist. The two books published in 1893 and 1896 contain a subject matter that may have well been taken straight from 2017 news headlines. The first book is entitled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. The book details the journey of an aristocratically wealthy young boy who traveled to Russia. Can't make this stuff up, folks. On a rather extraordinary journey, a young baron can even time travel. One Twitter user snapped a photo of the front part of the book, and here's the picture here. So the internet is going crazy about this book with Baron Trump in the title from 1893 with its sequel, The Last President. Here's a snapshot of the book's illustration. So you see young Baron there. Before leaving for his voyage through the unknown, Trump is told of his family's motto: the pathway to glory is strewn with pitfalls and dangers. Illustrations from the novels depict Trump dressed in lavish, old-fashioned clothing and jewelry as he departs from Castle Trump and begins his voyage heading to Russia to locate an entrance to an alternate dimension. Ironically, the narrator, the master of all masters in the book, is named Don. So, very interesting, right? Coincidence? Maybe, if you believe in that sort of thing. This book's sequel came out 3 years later, and it's titled 1900, or The Last President. What's happening in this book? It's a new president just elected, one who runs as an outsider with enormous opposition. Right before the election results were announced, all seemed well with a certain crowd, a crowd who were rather sure of which candidate would win the election. Does that sound familiar? Now, the president's name is not Donald in this. It's William Jennings Bryan. It could be a reference to a president who ran in real life in 1896. Another strange reference is the Fifth Avenue Hotel. As Newsweek notes, the address in the original book is now where Trump Tower stands on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And here's a quote from the book: the Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first to feel the fury of the mob. Would the troops be in time to save it? So Fifth Avenue, where Trump Tower is located, I guess is Castle Trump. Buried deep in the novels, yet another eerie detail: the newly elected president has a cabinet member whose last name is Pence. Lafay Pence is the name in the book. He's the Secretary of Agriculture in the story. So, not exactly, but still pretty pretty interesting. Talk about freaky, some of the descriptions sound more like stories that we have reported over in the past year than fiction. Here's another little freaky detail. In The Last President, Lockwood begins the first chapter of the book with the following paragraph. That was a terrible night for the great city of New York. The night of Tuesday, November 3rd, 1896, the city staggered under the bow like a huge ocean liner which plunges full speed with terrific crash into a mighty iceberg and recoils shattered and trembling like an aspen. Now, 1912, the Titanic did that same thing. Full speed into an iceberg and recoiled and sank. So, was he predicting the Titanic as well? It's a whole other conspiracy there, but anyway, so that's the story. We have another fictitious book that seems to indicate someone named Elon, or an Elon, kind of more of a title, would be leading humanity on Mars. And then it reminded me of this book of Barron Trump and then The Last President of Penn. So many odd coincidences. When are too many coincidences no longer a coincidence? That's the question. Let me know in the comments down below if you believe that there's something more to these stories. Was someone seeing through the future? I mean, after all, this Barron Trump book was literally talking about time travel. So was there more than meets the eye here? Thank you for watching. I am Enter the Unfamiliar, aka Final Death Star, and I've been hosting on eHacker's channel. You can find me on my channel, Enter the Unfamiliar. I do a live show every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time where I talk about the UFO phenomenon, the paranormal, biblical prophecy, strange mysteries, hidden histories. I thank you for watching.